If they do that, they're going to be very, 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 very tough to beat.
Wilson! Oh! And we are tied!
Let's go! Call them by Slamma Jamma.
And I don't ever let them forget where we come from.
Getting those phones out. Report me acting ignorant.
Dayon Chris got his way through, and he may go! Chris is in! Houston leads out of nowhere!
Seventh heaven for Houston. The Cougars advance to their seventh Final Four.
Go Cougs! Let's go! It's so good! The dream remains alive for the Houston Cougars!
Welcome to, there we go. Give it a second. Welcome to another edition of the Potsdam Jamma podcast here on the Potsdam Jamma YouTube channel, X account, whatever platform you may be watching and or listening to this edition. Joining me tonight, Kenneth Bowman of Coog TV. Kenneth, how are you doing on this Wednesday evening / night?
I'm doing pretty good, Andy.
Let's get into it straight ahead. The 22 ranked Houston Cougars, the top 25 UH Cougars for the first time since 2022, are gearing up to take on West Virginia this upcoming Saturday, 11 a.m. kickoff at TDECU Stadium, a special night for the University of Houston, or a special day, I should say, for the University of Houston Cougars football team, as they're going to be taking on the Mountaineers, of course, but they're going to be a lot of celebrations on Saturday. When it comes, obviously, first and foremost, they're going to be honoring Kurt Hester. They switched out their blackout games, a really cool, kind gesture that they did to honor Coach Hester. Its favorite color was black, so they're going to have the blackout in honor of him on Saturday, and it will also be the day that they honor the 10-year team of the 2015 Houston Cougars Peach Bowl team that not only went to Peach Bowl, they defeated Florida State in arguably the biggest win for the Houston Cougars in the past 10 years. And now a top 25 team heading into this matchup. Kenneth, what are some things that you're looking forward to this upcoming matchup on Saturday, and just what kind of has been the buzz around from head coach Willie Fritz and all the messaging?
Yeah, definitely, like you said, Kurt Hester, he passed. So rest in peace to Coach Hester. So that's going to be one of the big things that we're going to see on Saturday. They're switching the blackout to Kurt Hester. Like you said, the Peach Bowl celebration, they're bringing those guys out. Tom Herman, that was a little controversial, I would say. So I think that would be interesting to see the reaction to him. But and also, I mean, it's an 11 a.m. kickoff. We're trying to get people in the stands, butts in the seats. It might be another challenge like it was for homecoming, because these Houston fans, they just come up with any excuse not to come to the game. The Houston Cougars are ranked, man. Like, come to the game, dude. Yes, Tom Herman. They said Tom Herman was going to be there.
Yep, Tom Herman confirmed will be in attendance. So, very, very controversial figure when it comes to the University of Houston Cougars football. That, to be honest, when he stepped foot on campus on Saturday, that might be the first time he's been on campus since he last left in 2016, and obviously a lot of the turmoil that left behind last time that he at least was in front of a camera at the campus of the University of Houston. I mean, kudos to U of H for being the bigger program and stepping up and saying, you know what, we're celebrating the 2015 team. And they extended an invitation to Tom Herman. And honestly, I'm credit to Tom Herman, too, for taking the invite and showing up. So I'm curious to see how that goes. And the fans that show out, what kind of reaction he gets. I've seen a lot of fans that are saying, we're ready to boo. But, it has been almost a decade. I'm curious to see how his reception is on Saturday.
But there's even enough people in the stands so you can hear the boos.
Well, hopefully There's a good turnout, and obviously, of course, the weather will be gorgeous on Saturday when UH takes on West Virginia. And again, ultimately, it's going out there not only to celebrate the 2015 team, but also celebrate this iteration of the Houston Cougars, like you said, Kenneth, ranked 22 in the AP poll. The first time, like I said at the top of the show, they've been ranked since 2022. It was week 2, 2022, I believe, the last time that the University of Houston was ranked, and now here they are again, sitting at 7-1. They are coming off the heels of their most impressive win of the season, and I'm starting to notice a trend. I keep saying that a lot over the course of the past 2 weeks, which is good. What you want to hear from your football team. They're constantly improving week in and week out. But this past weekend at Arizona State, that hostile environment, Arizona State had come off some momentum. They were a top 25 team heading into the matchup, and Houston, for 3 quarters and change, looked like not only the better team, but they quite frankly were dominant against Arizona State, I should say. And they did it on the road. An impressive showing by Houston. Now they got to turn the page, and we heard this from the messaging from head coach Willie Fritz shortly after the game against Arizona State. But they said that they'll celebrate, they'll try to flush it down, and all eyes are on West Virginia, where when you look at their record, they're coming into this matchup at 2-6. The Mountaineers are certainly not eye-popping, and we're going to get into some of the stats that West Virginia has had heading into this matchup with Houston. This is a game that on paper Houston should not only win, but they should steamroll past West Virginia. But any given Saturday, Houston's got to be on point. They can't let bad teams stick around. In this case, West Virginia is a bad team. They can't give them hope. They need to come out focused and then jump on them from the get-go, close the door, and move on. That's what good teams do.
Yeah, like you said, this West Virginia team is not that great. They are 26. They rank 14th in the Big 12 in both offense and defense. They just came off of a 23-17 loss to TCU. However, the quarterback, he did have a pretty, it was a pretty good performance. He went 301 yards, 2 touchdowns. He went 28 for 41 passing. But like you said, UH has to come through and handle business, go 1-0 this week. The same messaging they've been preaching throughout the year. And honestly, just from what I've seen, they've been pretty consistent in how they approach games, no matter the opponent, no matter the record, no matter who's in front of them. They're just worried about, who they're playing each week. And then once you get through that week, you flush it, win or lose, and then you move on to the next.
Mm-hmm. This is a West Virginia team, like I said, is not only coming into 2-6, but they're winless in their conference record, 0-5 heading into this matchup. This is obviously a game for Houston, a team that not only is now top 25, but they are still very much in the hunt for being one of those final 2 teams in the Big 12 standings. This is a game that they cannot afford to drop. Now, when we get into the matchups, looking overall at West Virginia and just team stats-wise, they're entering the matchup. Really, these numbers are bad in all of FBS. When it comes to total defense, West Virginia is 104th in the entire country. When you look at their offense, not much better, although I guess you can make the argument slightly better. They're in the top 100, but still, it is very, very atrocious when it comes to their total offense. 98th in all of Division I FBS for West Virginia and the Mountaineers. And really, this is just a matchup that, again, on paper, Houston should have a field day against the Mountaineers.
Yeah, and West Virginia team, they're not playing that great. Houston, they're on a roll. They're 7-1 with their only loss to being, arguably the best team in the conference, even though those things might not say so. And, it's just Houston, they just got to keep going, handle your business, like I said, and hopefully they'll be 8-1 and they'll move up some more places in that AP poll.
When we talk about this matchup, some of the areas, some of the bright spots for Houston, recent, especially in that game against Arizona State. But we got to go back again. The calling card for Houston and the signature performances the defense had for much of that game against Arizona State. They shut them down, and they were shutting them out for 3 quarters of the game. And that dominant effort is going to be something that for Houston, it's going to be key to, again, control the tempo of the game and really not allow West Virginia to hang around or give them any hope. If they could put together that type of dominant performance again, that's going to bode well for Houston and be able to take care of business.
Yeah, I agree. I think the defense, they played really good against Arizona State, shutting them out for most of the game. Um, I think the offense could have did a better job of helping them out because I think they kind of stalled a little bit down the stretch, which allowed Arizona State to kind of get some momentum and get some confidence. And a team like that, if you let them score, they're not going to stop.
Yeah, for sure. There was a lot of there were some questions in terms of that fourth quarter when it comes to the Houston offense. Now, talking about Houston and then really what they've had and offensively, yeah, fourth quarter offense stalled, weren't able to put up a lot of points, but in the 3 quarters before that, they did a lot of good for against an Arizona State stingy defense. I wouldn't obviously they're not towards the top when we're talking about the Big 12, but they're still a stingy defense on the road. That was a sellout crowd at Arizona State, and Connor Weigman, he keeps making big plays with both his legs. Now, obviously, through the ground, threw for 200 plus passing yards this past Saturday against Arizona State, ran for 100 plus, scored touchdowns both through the air and on the ground, and just came up with big plays when there was a lot of kind of momentum type scenarios where if Arizona State could get a stop, maybe that could get them start accumulating some momentum earlier in the game, and every time it seemed like Connor Weigman and the Houston offense answered the bell. In particular, Weigman and his reliable option on this past Saturday in Tanner Koziel.
Yeah, Tanner Kojo had a season high, 100 yards, 7 catches. Connor was hitting them up. Obviously, they had the loss for the season of Stephon Johnson. But, I mean, everyone else just seems to be stepping up. Amari Thomas is still doing his thing. They had Kobe Young. He had a good catch. Maybe a few good catches. Tanner Kojo, like we just mentioned, he went off. He was going, he was going crazy. And Jaquez Martin, he had a great catch too.
When we're talking about this Houston offense in particular, and I feel like we always come back to this week in and week out, but it's again a testament to the hard work and then the plays that Connor Weigman continues to do. But that obviously the performance against Arizona State led him to being named one of the 2 Big 12 offensive players of the week. So not only is obviously we here from the Houston perspective, we're recognizing how good he's doing, but now across the entire conference, he's being recognized for his performance. What did you think about the effort that he put in against Arizona State and just how, again, especially with the outlier, Texas Tech, like you mentioned just a few minutes ago, right? They have been the top program in the conference for much of it. Granted, they had started to deal with some injuries and they had a slide a couple of weeks ago, but they certainly are still a top tier team, not only in the Big 12 conference, but in the nation. What have your thoughts have been on Connor Weigman and honestly his ability to shake off the concussion that he suffered in that loss to Texas Tech, but then also the performance, because even before that, it wasn't having his best game, and he kind of was able to. It hasn't had an impact on him, any kind of hangover impact on him, and he's put together some really strong performances since coming back.
Yeah, I mean, he's just showing he's confident. He knows what he can do. He knows what his talent level is, and I mean, we've kind of been saying this since he's gotten to Houston of what the talent Connor Weigman was. I mean, I've said it multiple times. He was a 5-star for a reason, and he's been showing out the last couple of weeks. He's getting more confident. I think they're opening up the playbook to utilize his strengths. They're letting him throw the pill around, and they're also letting him run the ball. I mean, the 111 yards, I think that's a career high. He just had one against Colorado, I believe, and he just had another one against Arizona State. So he's doing it. He's a dual threat, and I mean, they say like when your quarterback is a threat to run, that makes it way much harder for a defense to focus on another player.
For sure. And then again, going back to West Virginia's defensive stats, like I mentioned, overall they're 104th in total defense in all of Division I FBS, and they're giving up a lot of yardage and touchdowns as well to their opponents. But this is a little bit of an absurd stat. They're giving up 5.74 yards per play on the season, and they're also giving up 407 total yards of offense to their opponents. per game. So this has been a West Virginia team now. When you look at their schedule, to be honest, they got the short end of the stick when it comes to Big 12 conference play because they've had to play BYU. They're obviously going to play Houston in this week, and they're going to end their Big 12. They're going to end their season having to play Texas Tech. Utah has obviously performed well as well, who they faced earlier in the season. So, but this has been a defense that has, quite frankly, not been able to stop a nosebleed. With the exception of this past week when they played TCU, that's probably the best performance defensively that they've had, certainly in conference play and for most of the season.
Yeah, they haven't had a good conference play. Like you said, they're winless in conference. But I mean, they kind of they've gotten a tough stretch, and that's one thing I can say from the UH perspective. The schedule has been relatively favorable for UH, and even these remaining games, they have West Virginia, TCU, UCF, and Baylor. So I think UH has been kind of blessed this year with the schedule. I mean, it's kind of cake. It's not that tough of a schedule. And then when you look at the bigger perspective, it's in terms of bigger goals going to the Big 12 championship, it's very favorable for Houston if they want to make the Big 12 championship. They don't have that many tough opponents left on their schedule. I mean, maybe you can say TCU, but even then, I think that's a winnable game for them. Not to look ahead or anything. But relatively.
No, like you said, the platter. Well, not to go too in deep with the metaphor, but the path to the Big 12 championship is there for Houston. You mentioned the final four games for the Cougars: West Virginia, UCF, TCU, and Baylor. When we're talking about West Virginia and Baylor, those are two programs that West Virginia obviously much more than Baylor, but they have hit a lot of adversity and they're on the struggle bus recently. And even TCU, like I just mentioned, they came away victorious, but West Virginia had chances to pull away and then have an upset against them. So it's definitely not when we're talking about top tier opponents that they could be facing, this is not the cream of the crop that Houston could be facing to end their conference play. I think honestly that their toughest game left on the schedule is next Friday when they take on UCF in Orlando, because Houston, going back to the American Athletic Conference days and even before that, has been a tough opponent for Houston, especially when they have to play in Orlando, and UCF has had the better of Houston in previous matchups. But again, that is us from the outside doing the look ahead at their schedule. For Houston, again, they're focused on West Virginia. They're trying to come out on Saturday, and I think the biggest key to the game is to not give them any kind of hope. And I saw a comment. Let me put it up on the screen. This is from C. Anthony 37. It says Weigman's touchdown to turnover ratio much better than UH had last year. Way better than UH had last year. It's 6-1 currently. Just when we're talking about passing touchdowns, Connor Weigman has 12 passing touchdowns to just 2 interceptions that he's thrown so far on the season. And then when you add on top of that, he also has 8 rushing touchdowns to go along with that. He has 20 total touchdowns this year to just 2 interceptions. That's phenomenal. You could not have asked better from Weigman when it comes to taking care of the ball so far.
Yeah, I mean, going back to last year, I think the team was just. Offensively, they were just so bad across the board. I mean, the bottom of the country in numbers wise offensively. And I think even if you had a close to average or an above average offense, then you probably see a bowl game last year. And like they weren't doing the defense. I mean, they had a really good defense last year, but the offense wasn't doing that team any favors.
Absolutely, and I think that was it was definitely the most frustrating part about watching last year's Houston Cougars, because we recognized how great and how just talent-wise, how much potential that defense had, and they were performing relatively well. They had a few outliers here and there in a couple games last season, but quite frankly, there was a lot of games that Houston found themselves within one possession down the stretch last season that the offense had no business being in, because of how great the defense had played, and unfortunately they just didn't have an offense to be able to carry a shared load this year. Again, starting from the top with Connor Weigman, it has been a much different story. And what I really am most encouraged by is that week in and week out, it seems like they continue to add layers. And obviously, we know that the anchors for really the two anchors for this offense, specifically talking about the receiving end so far through the year, has been Amari Thomas and Kojo. But now we're starting to see a lot of different receivers rise as well, whether it be Harvey Broussard, Kobe Young. And that's what I think is it's really encouraging for this Houston offense. It continues to evolve, and now they're starting to add more layers and add more players get involved.
Yeah, and they're adding new factors to the offense. I'm gonna have to agree with this comment right here. The offensive line, they've been playing great. I would say. O line of the week 2 weeks ago, from a line. I mean, they were like getting their what they say, getting their lunch handed to them early in the year, and they've seen they went through the adversity. They've managed with the injuries and whatnot, and I think they found a tight rotation of what they want to go with in terms of protection.
Absolutely, and again, this is a testament to. It's something that I've said a lot in our Let's Rich Coug postgame show, but this is a Houston Cougars football team that continues to improve week in and week out. Like they haven't, and I'm curious to get your thoughts. I feel like this team not only has it not hit its ceiling, but I still think that it's not close to hitting its ceiling yet, both on offense and defense, if I'm being honest.
There's definitely still lots of room for improvement. The O line is still improving. I would say they're kind of lacking like in the running game, which is what they want to do. But what you have five more games left on your schedule. I feel like you shouldn't be playing your best football right now. You should be playing your best football towards the end of November, going into bowls or playoff or a conference championship. That's when you should be playing your best football. So. I think it's encouraging that they're not playing their best football right now, because you know that there's room for more, because this team has gotten better every week.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, when we look at these numbers from West Virginia, specifically about its defense, kind of getting a little bit more specific when it comes to passing defense, they're giving up dang near almost 8 yards per attempt to opposing quarterbacks this year. It's actually 7.88 if you're trying to be technical. They're giving up 247 passing yards per game. And like you mentioned, Kenneth, one area that Houston really is still trying to clean up, or at least execute better, is their rushing attack on offense. West Virginia is, again, towards the bottom of the country in all of FBS when it comes to rushing defense. They're giving up about just over 4 yards carry and 160 total rushing yards per game. This is an end on paper where hopefully we start to see that area of the game improve, specifically talking about the running backs, because Connor Weigman has kind of injected a lot of life when it comes to Houston on the ground attack and a lot of off-script plays, or even with design runs, like in the first drive against Arizona State, that big run that really set the tone and gave Houston a lot of confidence, I feel like, and set them up to score a field goal on that opening drive, has been huge for Houston. But like you said, it's been rough for a lot of the running backs to be able to accumulate a lot of yards. They've had a lot of carries and maybe not necessarily the yardage to show for it.
Yeah, I mean, but the running game isn't going anywhere. Willie Fritz is he's reluctant to abandon the run at times, even when us as fans or media are watching the game, and then you just throw it in the air. But that's Willie Fritz's style of play, and honestly, coach sticking to his game plan. He's 7-1. So I mean, honestly, I think one thing. I'm gonna answer that question, but one thing I would like to see is. They just keep the foot on the gas. I think, and going back to the Arizona State game, I think they just got too conservative, and that kind of allowed Arizona State to get back in the game, and especially with the offense that they have. When you go conservative and you go 3 and out and you keep giving the team the ball back, they're going to score eventually. And when you let them score, they're kind of hard to stop. When will Snead be back? I don't know if I can say specifics, but they said initially 2 to 3 weeks. So he's progressing well, I would say.
And he first got injured how long ago,
at,
Kenneth?
against Oklahoma State. So that was about 3 weeks ago.
So
Yeah.
well, 9 o'clock. The Big 12 should be releasing their injury report pretty soon. So we'll see where if he gets listed on there. And Yomani, thank you not only for the comment, for the question, but also for the super chat on YouTube. Kenneth Bowman, you officially look. We now it's a start, but here we go.
Yeah.
Some NIL for Kenneth Bowman of Coog
So
TV. Big thank you, Giovanni. He was a huge supporter this past Saturday when we did our live stream. So here we go. We
here's
always
the
say about
my bad. I didn't
um,
want to cut you off, but the injury report is out.
um, let me try to find it.
Yeah, I'm looking
Well,
at
I
it.
was
It says
gonna joke.
Snead is questionable.
Well, there you go. Questionable for Saturday's game against West Virginia. Um, and this is the first injury report, correct, leading up to Saturday's kickoff.
Yes.
So we shall see how he progresses. I'm trying to. Here we go. Player availability report. Houston. Wow, this is the fewest amount of names that I've seen for Houston in a minute.
Yeah, it's kind of light this week.
Jason Brooks, offensive lineman, doubtful. Stacy Sneed, like you said, questionable. And then we have Devin Williams, Jay Sean Riggle, and Quindario Lee, who are out for Houston in the game. We're talking about West Virginia. Theirs looks much, much bigger than Houston's. Their receiver, Justin Smith-Brown, is questionable, or it's probable, I should say. Quarterback Khalil Wilkins for them is also probable, and questionables for them are Preston Fox, Malik Agbo, doubtful, Kimo McAneoli. Might be butchering his last name. Apologies to the to the young man from West Virginia. And then they have a handful of players out. Let me cross-reference to see if it's any one of their leaders so far in any of their statistical categories. In the meantime, Kenneth, I was gonna make a joke real quick. Like you said, that's your first NIL from when it comes to most podcasts. So we're gonna frame that dollar for you
Facts, $1.99,
in
bro.
a second. And talking about Khalil Wilkins, who's on that injury report for West Virginia. He's probable to play, and he is the leading quarterback when it comes to West Virginia, just in terms of interesting. He's their leading rusher as a quarterback, and that's all leading rusher. But he's their third passer when it comes to Nico Marchiol has been their leading passer with 720 yards. Um, and just looking at all their quarterbacks, they have a very in total, their quarterbacks have a 101 touchdown to interception ratio compared to Connor Weigman's 6-1. And like Big Jack says in the comments, this is a West Virginia team that on top of it, they're not playing that well, but they are very banged up heading into this matchup on top of that.
Yeah. I mean, it's more the same. I think they're not, in terms of what Houston is thinking about. I don't think they're looking at this as an easy win, as an easy opponent. You know, is 1-0. It doesn't matter who you're playing. Business as usual. And you know, any given Saturday when you underestimate an opponent and you take them lightly, they can get you.
Their leading quarterback, Nico Marchiol, listed as out for West Virginia. They have another quarterback. They have three quarterbacks on the injury report, which is just absurd. In Jalen Henderson, he's also listed as out for West Virginia. Doesn't seem like he's thrown much for them, but in any case, again, a very banged up Mountaineers team heading into this matchup, which again just reiterates to the point for Houston, it's going to be very, very important to jump on them from the get-go, give them no hope, really squeeze the life out of them from the beginning, and then move on and be ready for the next opponent, be ready to take on UCF on the road. And ultimately, it's going to be as cliche as it sounds, but they have to just not play with their food.
Yeah, just win. It's that simple. They might roll out. They might be like Oklahoma State and roll out a wide receiver at quarterback. So I don't know. They have some things to figure out in terms of that roster.
And they also need to be mindful. Kind of, you mentioned Oklahoma State. I'm sure that West Virginia will try to do similar things in terms of trick plays or some type of creativity to get some type of spark. And granted, so far again, Houston defense has done a really good job being prepared for it. So I expect the same thing. And again, to tip a feather to the cap of the coaching staff for Houston, Willie Fritz and his entire staff, I think that they're going to have this team prepared, ready to go. On top of that, they're going to be more focused in because it is a game. Not only, like I said, they're going out there trying to honor Coach Kurt Hester. So I think they're going to be very motivated to come out against West Virginia and put on a show and take care of business. And now, like I said, this is at a point where I feel confident in them to be able to come out and do just that, which, again, is a testament to where this team has grown from where it was at the beginning of the season. Big Jack 512's comment, they're playing their fifth-string quarterback. And, again, on paper, that seems very well, but it instantly reminds me not too long ago. Well, I mean, I guess now it has been really long, but it was once upon a time when the Tulane team had its third-string quarterback and defeated Houston. So, again, like you said, any given Saturday, they just got to be ready for anything and just come out, dial in, continue to keep doing what they've been doing. And, again, this is a very much different team than that previous Houston Cougars team from previous coaching staffs. I think that this team will be ready to play. Big Jack 512's comments. Houston, last time I checked, they were about a 14.5-point favorite against West Virginia. Listen, don't listen to me for betting advice, but if I was in Vegas and I was betting, I would want to bet the over on that like crazy. I think Houston's gonna win by more than 2 touchdowns. But we're not sponsored by any gambling sites, and I don't have any of those glasses that have been coming out in reports. So don't listen to me when it comes to betting advice. But that to be honest, that seems low when it comes to the point spread, at least in my opinion. Kenneth, any final thoughts about this matchup or any key player that you're going to be watching when it comes to Houston and West Virginia?
I want to see how. Well, really, since Jason Brooks is considered doubtful. It'll be interesting to see how offensive line plays, and like we said at the beginning of the year. Remember, it was 5.5 wins over. I told y'all to cash that. So if y'all cash that, y'all made that was free cheese.
That is true.
I said that was some free cheese, and they're sitting at 7-1 right now. Hopefully you did 8 or 9 and got some more money. But yeah, it will be interesting to see the how they adjust with Jason Brooks being out. But overall, I mean, I expect a good game from Houston, and I mean the guys that's been performing, I expect them to keep doing what they're doing. This might be the Kobe Young breakout game. Who knows? It might be time for him to get more involved. I think Connor's been looking for him all year. Mm-hmm. It's just they just haven't been able to connect. But you gotta just keep trying, keep going, and they're gonna connect. And Connor knows that too. He even says it in the press conferences after the game. He says he wants to get all his guys the ball. He's not just looking at one person, and when they're not connecting, he's just gonna keep trying it.
Absolutely, and that's the key component too, because the big play that comes to mind when it comes to Young was that game against Texas Tech, and obviously it was a big play. Was unable to hold on, and since then they've continued to go. And like I said, they've also been going to Harvey Brewster, which, not to sound like a broken record, in previous shows we mentioned they had a good connection during fall camp. It just hadn't translated to Saturdays, to game days yet. And we've also started to see Connor Weigman target him more frequently during game days as well.
Hey, shout out to Martin. They're 4-0 when Harvey Broussard has a catch.
Look at that. So we shall see. And I agree, Kenneth. I think that this is going to be a big game for both Kobe Young, potentially even the Harvey Broussard. And hopefully when we're looking at a lot of the running game, we know that Dean Connors is kind of their rock in the backfield. But I'd be curious to see if we can see some explosive runs from Jamaron Burnett or some of the other running backs in the backfield for Houston as well.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much gonna do it. We had not too much to say. We just ready for the 11 a.m. kickoff. If you are heading to the game, hopefully you are one, you get to enjoy the weather and you tailgate. It should be in the 40s and 50s early in the morning, and by the time kickoff, it'll probably be a little bit closer. Mid 60s, 70s is going to be a gorgeous, gorgeous day. Go out there, support the top 25 ranked Houston Cougars, 22 ranked Houston Cougars as they take on West Virginia, and be sure you rock out your all black gear for the blackout game against the Mountaineers, not only to celebrate the 2015 Houston Cougars team that won the Peach Bowl, but also in honor of Coach Hester, and obviously the unfortunate news of this passing a week ago, this past Saturday. Really still a program that mourning the loss of their strength and conditioning coach. Giovanni's already ahead of us. Whose house? Come on, yeah. Every time we see that, of course, we got to say it's Coog's house.
Coog's house.
Don't forget San Antonio, those cheers walking down the downtown after Houston won against Duke. All you heard was whose house? Coog's house. So, you got to hit him with a Coog's house. That being said, Kenneth, I'll toss it over to you. Where can people find you? Anything you might be working on when it comes to Coog TV or any of the other outlets that you're working with?
Yeah, I just want to say that was a great job being a meteorologist, Andy.
Yep.
But yeah, Coog TV, we got some stuff. We just were at basketball media availability today. Put some clips out from that. Basketball season's coming up Monday, season opener, so we will be there. And I might be getting into the writing game. I won't say where or when, but you may or may not see some articles with my name on it coming out pretty soon. And yeah, I think that's about it.
Can't wait to see a good tease right there. That's what we call a good tease for what's to come. And like you mentioned, basketball season right around the corner. Less than a week now to their regular season opener, November 3rd from the Fertitta Center. So we shall see how that goes. Exciting for Houston, the two ranked Houston Cougars, the number two ranked Houston Cougars when it comes to men's basketball. So be sure to follow along as we see basketball season tipping off. That being said, that's going to do it for this edition of Pots Time Pajama. Be sure to join us back here on Saturday at approximately about 2:30, depending on when the game ends, shortly after Houston and West Virginia goes off the air. Hopefully we're going to be discussing the Houston Cougars win over the Mountaineers for Lethbridge Cougs, presented by the Saxenian family. Bryce Bell, Dayon, and Chris will be on the call talking everything about UH and West Virginia. And that being said, as always, we can always end it without saying, go Cougs.